Bobby, my stomach hurts. Oh, I'll give you some of Dad's medicine. It's real strong stuff.
That's a prescription for danger.
Doc!
Never take medicine without a grown-up present. You could do more harm than good.
What should we do?
If you can, wait for your parents. Or if it's serious, ask a neighbor for help.
Hey, Mom's home.
Now you'll get help.
And now we know what to do next time.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Anyone else find that a bit creepy? A man at the window, talking to kids in their bathroom. Anyway, hello and welcome to the General's Reviews. I am Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force podcast, and I'm joining Justin Bell from What's on Joe Mind and GeneralsJoes to bring you this review of the G.I. Joe Collectors Club FSS4 Mystery 13th figure, Carla Doc Greer. Before Justin takes a look at the figure, let's go into the history of the character from her first appearance through to now. Right, what do we know about Carla Doc Greer? Well, her first appearance in anything was the Devil's Due G.I. Joe Reborn comic in 2004, in what was the second of the one-shots that led up to the comic series G.I. Joe Reloaded. Basically a new take on Joe in an alternative continuity to any of the other comics. Instead of being a relative of Doc's, she is an alternate Doc in this particular reality. Following her appearance in the comic, the Collectors Club decided to use the character as a relative of the original Doc, a niece to be specific, but also seemed to take inspiration from an unreleased black female character that only made it to a trading card set. This concept art showed a black version of Lady J, the body that the club used for the figure. She was made available at JoeCon in 2007 in the Tanks for the Memories box set that also included Sparks, Sergeant Flash, Grunt version 10, Lieutenant Claymore, Zap version 4, Clutch version 4, Rock and Roll version 8, Cobra Officer version 5, and 6 version 5 Cobra Troopers. Not long after this, she appears in the Devil's Due America's Elite comic. This time she is mentioned by name, which ties her to the original Doc, who is deceased in this particular continuity, of course. You can see her name on the last page of issue 28, stationed at Walter Reed Medical Center. We do get a glimpse of her as part of the medical team tending to wounded after the events of World War III in the final issue. Her new file card is the same as her original 2007 figure, which ties her in directly with Carl W. Greer, or original Doc. Not only following her uncle in profession, but also using his massive shaped flare launcher. Phallic shaped accessories aside, she looks pretty badass, and is a cool addition to the Mystery 13th roster from the Collectors Club. She joins a rather limited medical team in the modern era of figures that I'm sure will be added to over time. I would love to see Stretcher and Med Alert for the Joes, and Scalpel and his Medi Vipers for Cobra. Both sides must have a pretty overworked ER currently, ER Joe and Cobra the Enema. Anyway, enough of me, let Justin show you the newest member of the Joe Club roster.
Hey, this is Justin from GeneralsJoes.com. Thank you very much for tuning in for another Generals Joe and Tell. This time I'll be looking at the very last, I should probably, spoiler alert, figure subscription service 4.0, 13th figure is Carla Doc Greer. If you don't know that by now, you've probably been living in a cave somewhere for the last 3 months. But I'm going to be taking a look at the special exclusive 13th figure, which was only available to figure subscription service subscribers. You can't just go in the Collectors Club store and buy this version of Doc. But anyway, here she is. And first and foremost, obviously, we're going to look at the card art like we always do. I do have to put a little disclaimer here first and say that Doc does come with a little white hypodermic needle kind of applicator accessory, which I somehow managed to lose when I first opened her. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but it did. So you will not see that accessory in this video review, but rest assured, 99.9% of the Docs shipped out there came with it. I would say 100% probably came with it. I just managed to lose mine somehow. But anyway, just wanted to put that disclaimer up front. And once again, I believe this was done by Adam Riches. I like it because they really took kind of the classic art from the old school Doc from 1983 and souped it up. And for anybody unfamiliar with the history of this female version of Doc, it's from a Devil's Due comic. G.I. Joe Reloaded actually did it first. And G.I. Joe Reloaded basically was an alternate universe version of G.I. Joe. And Doc, in that particular version of G.I. Joe, of the G.I. Joe comic, was female. And so what happened is the G.I. Joe Collectors Club wanted to find a way to kind of tie that into real American hero continuity. So when they did a convention figure in 2007, they did a convention version of the female Doc, and I think kind of worked it out to be the original Doc's niece, I think it was. I had said it was his daughter in the actual written review, and I was corrected by folks who said no, it was his niece. And so I want to make sure I kind of get that right here. Here is her file card. As you can imagine, the file card is completely new because this is well, actually that's a lie. It's probably heavily inspired by the 2007 version of this character, which the G.I. Joe Collectors Club did as their Tanks for the Memories convention exclusive. But anyway, this figure is obviously inspired by that. And once again, this is the 13th FSS figure, which you could only get if you subscribed to the figure subscription service. And now we look at the Doc Greer figure herself. This is a figure I never really knew I wanted. Still not sure I care a whole lot about having Doc, but it's not a bad figure. Looks like to be, from the waist up, one of the later 25th anniversary Lady Jays, I believe, who came with one of those DVD packs. From the waist down, I think it's a Rise of Cobra cover girl or Scarlet, maybe. But, pretty decent female parts. Take a look at her all the way around. Her web gear that you see here is from a formerly unreleased version of Lady J, who was then released in the 50th anniversary, and then as a Night Force version of that same Lady J from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. So it's been used a few times at this point. And it's nice web gear. I think it works well. I've got her kind of slung over with her little flare launcher. Pull that off. Something that came with the 25th anniversary of Doc figure. We've got this great little med pouch here that also came, I believe, with the 25th anniversary of Doc. And I still remember getting that 25th anniversary Doc figure. That was pretty fun. They included little kind of flagpoint type of things that you could get when you bought comic packs of the 25th anniversary figures back then. And once you got enough, you would mail off and you could get Doc as a mail away exclusive, which is something companies don't do enough of these days. And that was pretty fun. No companies really do fun stuff anymore. Toys are serious business now. No more of that funness. Transformers is doing some pretty cool fan vote stuff, which I'm a big fan of. But for the most part, it's no more fun to be had. These are adult collectibles, not toys. Doc's got what looks to be a new head sculpt. I'm not I can't get my head around it. Well, no pun intended. It's kind of weirdly done. It looks kind of flat and smooth, not much detail work. The hair is very kind of, like I said, flat. No real hairlines or anything. It's okay. It's not fantastic, but it's all right. It's a decent new head sculpt. At least it's some kind of new tooling. The arms are a struggle. These 25th anniversary arms sometimes don't bend real well. These are no exception. They aren't, like I said, they're not awful. And if you kind of bend them around, twist them around, sometimes you can get some better range of motion, which is good. But they're certainly not like 30th anniversary arms. But there was very few female figures in the 30th anniversary that had new kind of 30th anniversary era tooling. So it's tough to just keep reusing those parts over and over and over again. But I do like this web gear. It kind of simulates the look of Lady J's web gear pretty nicely. We can look at the 2007 version of Doc a little bit later, which will kind of show that off too. And I really like kind of that built-in backpack that's in the web gear as well. Her color scheme is obviously inspired by the 25th anniversary Doc, which was as such inspired by the 1983 version of Doc, being mostly tan, and with some nice white kind of to spice things up, a white belt here, and of course the bandolier here is white. And it's got the nice little kind of med symbol on the bag there. So she's a cool figure. Not bad. And here we can look at a comparison between this figure and the Tanks for the Memories exclusive version. You can kind of see where it's built from. Interestingly, they changed the color scheme quite a bit. This version of Doc has much darker browns. These are kind of another kind of an off brown. They did keep the white belt. They took away her white t-shirt. The head looks very similar, not exactly the same. Interestingly, this head actually has more hair detailing than the more modern head does, which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. But you can certainly see what the inspiration was with that 2007 Tanks for the Memories version. And we can throw her uncle kind of over next to her too. The two versions of Doc. You can see he's still wearing his chest, his little bandolier on his chest. The color schemes are pretty close, not exact matches. But the figure's okay. You know, it's another one of those FSS figures that doesn't completely blow me away, but is an interesting figure. The 13th figures, they made some stunning choices early on with like Frostbite, which was a fantastic figure, but ended up pissing off a lot of people because it was such a great figure and so hard to come by. So they're kind of trying to dial that back a little bit. And, you know, right after Frostbite, I think they dialed it back to Grand Slam, which was not a popular move either. So I think they're still trying to find that little middle ground, where it's a figure that's somewhat desirable, but not so desirable you're going to end up alienating collectors by releasing one that's too cool that most people can't get their hands on. She's got okay articulation, you know, a mixture of vintage of 25th anniversary parts and Rise of Cobra parts. She's interesting, yeah. She's nothing that I was clamoring to have on my display shelves or anything, but as figures go, she works pretty well. So that is a look at the G.I. Joe Collectors Club Figure Subscription Service 4.0. Carla Doc Greer is kind of the full name on the package. And she's an okay looking figure. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you didn't like what you saw, leave me a comment down below and tell me why. Thank you very much for the G.I. Joe Collectors Club for Figure Subscription Service 4.0. This wraps up all the figures from 4.0 as we get ready for the incoming Figure Subscription Service 5.0, which should be exciting as well. Thanks to Chris Diagnostic 80 McLeod for throwing this video together. Thank you all for watching, and keep watching GeneralsJoes.com for more exciting figure reviews and G.I. Joe news. Thanks very much.
Thanks for watching this review by Justin Bell of GeneralsJoes.com and What's on Joe Mind, and from myself, Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think on any of our numerous social networking platforms. Goodbye, and see you next time for another Generals Review.